It's been quite a week for some news from Rivian, and today's news is no exception, although it's not exactly Rivian focused. You see, we just found out that there is a new company spun off from Rivian called Also, or some people thought it was called Ride Also. That's the website anyways. But I have brought in our friend Jose, who has joined us many times on our channels from Rivian Tracker to kind of explain what's going on and his thoughts and impressions. And I'll join you again at the end to give my last thoughts.
Hey everyone, this is Jose from Rivian Tracker and welcome to another Out of Spec Bits. Today we're going to be talking about a new Rivian product, but it's not really a product. See, Rivian has just launched something kind of new, but it's not a truck or an SUV or even really an EV of sorts. See, it's a spin-off company. It's called Also, and it's kind of diving head into the micro mobility space. So what does that mean, and what do you need to know about that? Well, Also is a new standalone startup spun up by Rivian, focused on small, affordable electric vehicles such as e-bikes. It's backed by $105 million funding from Eclipse Ventures. The team also includes people from Apple, Tesla, REI, and so much more, about 70 or so people. Let me show you here what I'm talking about. So here's a little article I wrote earlier about Rivian's new spinoff called Also. We can argue if the name is good or bad, but here you get to see a little bit about it. Rivian still owns a stake in Also, with the CEO of Rivian, RJ Scaringe, being on the board, and the Rivian software technology being a huge part of Also's mobility vehicles. So that great Rivian software that we see today across their R1T, R1S, and Rivian commercial van is going to be kind of part of what Also's vehicles will include. Now, the article went on to say that the first products will launch later this year and then go into full production in 2026 in the US and Europe, initially with plans to expand into Asia and South America later on. The focus includes both commercial and consumer use, especially kind of for that like last minute delivery, or I should say last mile delivery, like in dense cities, kind of what like the post office kind of does now in terms of like that last mile delivery. And really the big goal around Also is that Rivian will provide Rivian level quality and tech, but a way lower price point than today's like high-end e-bikes and whatnot. So that's really kind of cool. And here you can see a little bit of an article with their logo and their tagline, a better way to get there, ride on Also. And then of course, we have here their website, which is kind of a neat little website. Now, honestly, the website right now does not really contain any content that is worthwhile to share. There's a couple of different stuff here, and you can kind of move this around. It's kind of neat, and little diagram up here. So right now, there's not much else. There is a news page where it kind of talks about what Also is, but this is all really, really new. The company is headquarters out of Palo Alto, California, where Rivian has a huge presence, with their software development team out there. So it kind of makes sense for Also to be out there. Every time I say the word Also, I'm like, this isn't a company name. It's kind of weird, right? But that's the reality is they call the name Also. Originally posted this morning by TechCrunch. So here's the original article where they talked about the initial investment of $105 million. And from what it sounds like, this is something that RJ, the CEO of Rivian, has been wanting to do for more than a decade. And so it's kind of cool that he's finally being able to go back to kind of his roots of being able to do something with mobility, especially affordable e-mobility such as e-bikes. And it's worth knowing that honestly, other companies are doing this, right? Jeep, Porsche, they're working on e-bikes, but a lot of people have criticized them because they're just so expensive. And this is where Rivian and I should say Also can come in and really define and build out an affordable product for consumers as well as commercial usage. Something that you can go out and buy, right, to compete with those other brands. And really what I want to see here is I wonder how there can be some integration between Rivian and also me being the Rivian guy. I want to know how will these two kind of companies come together to be able to work together and offer some cool stuff, right? A little bit of, we think about like the R2, which is coming out, next year, and Rivian has been very focused on the accessory market for that, right? They talked about the accessory ports that are going to exist on the back of the R2 and how cool it would be able to sell a bike that instantly like plugs into that and connects and maybe can even be charged up with your Rivian R2. These are kind of the things that I and even more than that, maybe show it on the display, right? As soon as you plug it in, it pops up on your center display in your Rivian vehicle, and be able to actually like see it, the status, the charging, state of charge, all that good stuff, right there on the screen. So if you're interested in also and learning more about what they're doing and kind of following their journey, they are over on X. You can follow them at Ride also. So you can see here, they just kind of popped up this account this morning or a couple of days ago. So that's really cool to be able to see them get into the social media game and kind of talk a little, kind of be known and be visible in the world so that people can see what they're all about. So this has kind of been a little discussion about also, I'm interested to see, what happens with this. I'm going to be reaching out to them to see, what additional information we can get. But really excited to see another company come in and do some e-mobility, because I think that is a huge market that is barely being touched upon. And I think it could be really cool to see not just an e-bike, but an e-bike using Rivian technology, and software, because Rivian has really stepped their game up. They're doing great stuff. They're not 100% there, right? But they're getting there, and that's what's really exciting.
Right. Thanks, Jose. That is fascinating. I was curious when they initially announced this because, yeah, like he said, Jeep, Porsche, other companies as well have investigated this realm of e-bikes under their own brands, and have received a lot of flack, actually. They've just been really priced extensively high and not necessarily better than the competition that's already existed in the e-bike space. It didn't feel like it was something new. It just felt like existing e-bike tech with maybe new branding on it, probably good build quality, especially in the case of Porsche, but then carrying that hefty price tag that didn't make much sense for what it was. So I do think it makes perfect sense for this to be kind of separate from the Rivian branding. I think that's actually smart, so it doesn't really confuse everyone. But maybe having a lot of the shared technology, shared enthusiasm, maybe some of the shared engineering, and of course, RJ being so passionate about it really helps as well. And it would be really cool to have this next level of integration with the products. Like Jose was saying, if the Rivian R2 or R1 or anything could speak to the e-bike somehow, whether it was an NFC communication, Bluetooth, I don't really know what it would take to do that, but just being aware of the vehicle or the device, I guess, being near the vehicle, charging off the vehicle, managing the charging. I don't know. It'd be really interesting to see how this is interacted. So Honda, of course, has the Moto Compacto under its brand, but there's no actual integration with the Prologue, which is a big miss because the Prologue actually has nearly a Moto Compacto size slot in the back, but not quite. And there's no place to plug it in, I don't think. Well, maybe there is, but it's just clearly not made together. I mean, the Prologue actually is a GM vehicle anyways. And then I don't know if there was much integration with Porsche on those e-bikes. So it'd be interesting to see if Rivian has a whole new level of integration, something that hasn't really been done before, or at least hasn't been done well enough to be discussed. So I'm excited to see what happens. Stay tuned for more news as more stuff unfolds. Even though Rivian doesn't have any products coming out for a while, as far as the R2 being next, in theory, there's still no slouches with a lot of news recently beyond South by Southwest, more updates with R2. There's a lot happening in the Rivian realm, so stay tuned for more.